The next question that I'd like to have a little bit more of, that was a good one, like distinguishing yourself, but I'd like to have more of a discussion between the three of you. And this is a question that I think everybody here and everybody listening is curious about, which is, it's really important to most progressive people in San Francisco to keep a progressive majority on the board. And there's a lot of seats up this year around the city, and what we want to understand as an organization, what I want to understand as a person, and I'm sure other people do, is why is District 9 so important this election cycle? And there's limited resources within the league, and there's limited resources within the city to allocate to different races around the city. So why is District 9 the central one? But don't feel like you have to say your piece. You can talk a couple of times if you want.
Well, I think that clearly, I think to follow up with what David said, that is a huge difference in the approach and why District 9 is so critical in terms of who we elect in District 9. I'm not about legislating to be a legislator at City Hall. That's not why I'm running. I'm running because I come out of movements. I'm running because I want to empower our community. And I truly believe that it isn't the representative at City Hall who is the best at legislating, but the people who are most impacted by the problems that we face in the community, particularly if you're talking about a progressive and social justice and economic justice and environmental justice agenda. We do not need another regular politician that's just going to legislate. What we need is movement building, and that's why District 9 is so critical. That's why, and that is fundamentally the difference, particularly between David and myself, in terms of our approaches to both this election and also to how we view politics. And it's for some it may be a small fine line and a nuance, but I think it's really important, particularly for progressives, particularly for folks who are organizers, who are on the front lines, who understand that it is about really not getting out in front of people, but being there with the folks you're leading and the folks that you're representing. So I think that's a fundamental, we can talk a little bit more about it, but that is a fundamental difference. And how you do that is by being from the district, understanding the district, having lived your whole entire life and worked your whole entire life and organized in the district.
If I can add something to that, I think that is a difference. And the way that I explain it is that I always think of my parents. My mom was a janitor growing up, and my dad was a factory worker, and they struggled to put food on the table. And I always think of who would my parents want if they live in LA, if they lived in San Francisco, representing their interests. And I've supported someone like Chris Daley because I think it's important to have someone who pushes the envelope. But I also think that my parents need a Tom Ammiano who, beyond just screaming loudly and trying to be confrontational and pushing the envelope, who's actually going to pass legislation so that they have something like healthcare. I think that people need both people on the Board of Supervisors, and we are talking about the person who's going to follow in Tom Ammiano's footsteps. And I think that you don't have to have been born in the Mission or Bernal Heights or Portola, any part of the district, to feel like you are a part of the district. In fact, I think that one of the reasons that my campaign, I feel, is connecting with so many people is because there is a large immigrant population in this district that is really disconnected. And I keep saying this throughout my campaign. I've said it and I will continue to say it. I do think that the true test of what kind of society we are is not how those who have the most are doing, but how those who have the least are doing. And in District 9, we have a population of Latino individuals who really feel disempowered. And I know that there are a lot of people who have worked with them, and I appreciate the fact that they have done that. The difference is that I have been one of them. I came here as an undocumented person, and I really think that there is a connection that happens when you have that experience. And I don't need to have been born in this country to have that connection, to be able to say, I know what you're going through, and to be able to go down 24th Street and talk to that merchant who got here, as an undocumented person, who saved pennies to open up their business, and who is barely making ends meet, and who, by the way, to pay bills, is working at Walgreens. And yet, that person has perhaps an undocumented spouse who has been the victim of a crime, but they're afraid to report it because we have our sanctuary status being threatened. That's the kind of experience that I bring. And I think that that experience, coupled with the understanding of how to actually make legislative changes, because at the end of the day, it's important that we have activism. I think that's part of policy making. But you have to, in the end, make sure that you have the tools legislatively to protect people, so that you have something like the Equal Benefits Ordinance, so that the rights of LGBT people are protected, so that you have something like a living wage. Those are legislative solutions that must be part of the solution, because otherwise, I don't think that we are where we're going to be, where we need to be as a society.
Well, I think that there's kind of that's not a crisis in District 9. Clearly, folks on the progressive side of politics in San Francisco are worried about District 9, but they're really worried about District 11. They're really worried about District 1. So I can see why a lot of folks are kind of either staying away from District 9 or triple endorsing. There's a lot of that. Please don't do that. And I just want to recognize that Eric Story is with us. He's also running. He's in the audience. And so I'm glad you came out, even though you were invited. They'll let you say a word or two. But I also think that it is really important that this district clearly have a progressive vote representing this district. It's the most progressive district in the city practically. There's arguments between District 5 and District 9 about that, but I think it's the most progressive district. And so I think we need to keep that seat. And, there's arguments to be made whether one of us is more progressive than the other, but I'm the only one who's voted progressively consistently for as long as anybody. And I have a clear record. You're not taking a risk with me. I'm there. I'm instinctually there. And I think that's important. I also think it's really important to be able to work with folks. Clearly, my first couple of years on the school board, it was very rocky. We had a superintendent, Arlene Ackerman, who was not in line with the values of San Francisco, who had a very difficult time getting her message across, and the board was very divided. Many of our votes were 4-3. Since we've gotten more of a progressive board, I helped those people get elected. Jim Schreemoffice, who's actually supporting David first, but no hard feelings. And Jane Kim, as well. Even Hydra Mendoza, who I didn't help, she's much more forward-thinking than some of the former board members who've left. And so we've been able to cobble together over the last 3 or 4 election cycles a very, very progressive school board, and therefore we've been very united on the issues. And clearly education issues are forefront on most people's minds. And you cannot have a functioning or well-functioning, high-functioning school district when people are squabbling. So I think it's important to have that with the supervisors as well. I think people know that the supervisors many times draw the line in the sand with each other, with the mayor, and the mayor does it with them as well, and that blocks progress. It doesn't move the discussion forward, and I think I'm the right candidate to move into the supervisor role to make sure that there's ongoing, honest discussion, but keep progressive values alive and move the city forward.